Stephanie, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Ingrid.
And just to give a little bit more context about who you are a modern day Renaissance woman, award winning former news and sports anchor at NBC, CBS, and ABC, businesswoman, executive communication, leadership coach, philanthropist, and professional pilot, TEDx speaker, and I didn't know you were a professional singer.
Yes, yes.
Oh, what type of genre?
Oh, it's mostly like jazz, blues, a little
Oh,
classic rock and pop in there, but it's, as you can probably hear, there's a little bit of a soulful,
I can totally.
tenor in my voice. It used to be a descant soprano, and now it's a lot lower.
Oh, wow. Oh, if I would have known this when we first met, I always make everyone sing.
All right, we can do that.
But no, it's an honor to have you. And we are very excited to have you as part of NORDA's Bureau. And people will find out more as we start talking even deeper about your work. But how do you, I mean, I love your multifacetedness because, we're all many things, right? And I know all of these careers have intersected at different times in your life, but maybe from your point of view, like who is Stephanie?
Yeah, as someone who didn't know she would be all these things, which is what I like to impart on others. Growing up, I wanted to be either like a professional tennis player or a professional singer or actress, and I went to school for pharmacy and came out a broadcast journalist. So much different, but I used all those skills that I loved growing up in theater and speaking and communicating and getting to connect with people into the world of broadcast journalism. And so I did that for 10 years and absolutely loved it at ABC, NBC, and CBS. And over that time, I learned a lot about how to get things done, how to be resourceful, but also how to do that with grace, poise, and presence, and authentically my own grace, poise, and presence. And so, as I've navigated that part of, as I've navigated just my own career, I also found myself not feeling as fulfilled as I would be in the current place I was in broadcast. As much as I loved it, I was ready to do something different. And instead of just kind of sucking it up and saying, you're fine, it's a great job, just do the status quo, there was just something much bigger in me that said, I can't live like this any longer. I have to do something different because this chapter is wonderfully closed. And so I've been able to, over the years, continue to do that and evolve instead of just stay in one place. And so evolving into a business owner and executive coaching and communication, media training, and overall leadership. That's what I've done for Fortune 500 executives all across the world. And then I also got introduced to aviation. And instead of saying, oh, I can't do that, I'm not great at science and math, and I don't know, I've never flown a plane, no one in my family is a pilot, I said, well, let's try it out. Why not? And so I've continually, through my journey in my career, pushed myself to just try and see if I like it. If I don't, whatever. It's no love lost. I just didn't like that. And I go on to the next thing. But I also don't want to live my life wondering what if I would have taken a chance on that and loved it, but I never did because I was too afraid. And so that's a lot of what I do in my coaching and in also my workshops is to help level people up to the next level of themselves, whether that is in their current role at the company and working their way up within there, whether it's doing things externally, philanthropy wise, or whether that's completely shifting a career. It's never, ever too late to do any of this. And frankly, sometimes as we get older, we actually have the benefit of experience and years under our belt that actually make us better at being multifaceted. But a lot of times we get stuck. And so that's what I like to push people is to get out of their own way and go through their own glass ceiling.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned evolved because I've seen it firsthand with executives even that are unhappy in their roles and don't leave. It takes them years to pivot. And I think one of the things for me, because I started as an entrepreneur, I mean, not really, I was in a corporate role and then have been an entrepreneur since I was like 24. But it gave me that freedom where you're forced to pivot because you have to
Yes,
every
absolutely.
year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's totally doable. It's totally possible. And I think a lot of people think that just because they're at a certain age that you just have to stay in that career or that job for
Or
10
you have an
years.
identity around
Yes, yes,
build
yes.
and, you feel so married to that, and I mean, in reality, that's just your own belief, like nobody else. I mean, if you pivot, it doesn't matter, and it may even make you better, right? At the other,
Exactly.
and expand who you are. And so I love that. That's kind of the center and core of what you do. So I want to go over some of the sessions and offerings that you offer, because I know there's like the consulting side, but I want to talk more on your workshops that you offer, especially Women's History Month coming up, and as companies are wrapping up budget and figuring out what programming they're hosting for 2025. I wanted to start with a courageous conversation session. If you can tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, Courageous Conversations is a very important workshop that I think every company and organization should do. It's the one that, looking at it, you might say, oh, that feels a little bit uncomfortable because you're having to have difficult conversations. But it is at the core of what will truly activate your company, because these difficult conversations we choose not to have, unfortunately, they can leave a company stuck, and also they can keep it a little bit divided if they don't have these discussions. So the workshop helps focus on how to have difficult conversations better, and how to not anticipate them with as much anxiety or fear, but instead say, well, actually, this is going to break the ice, and this is actually going to infuse health into our organization. So how can we approach it the right way? There's a lot of learnings around how to listen better, how to actually articulate what you are feeling and what you are seeing from your perspective, and how to get your walls down and come to it from a place of we want to do this together and we want to move forward together. But the learnings will be all around how they can apply these strategically, immediately, and practically into their life and into their daily life, into their professional life right away. And I've seen when I do this workshop that it is really this watershed moment for everyone, because everyone wants to be able to get past the ickiness of difficult conversations, but they don't want to address it, and so then they avoid it. And this will really help them feel empowered and to approach it in a way that doesn't feel as uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is such an important workshop for today.
Definitely, definitely.
Just tomorrow.
It's
We also
evergreen.
have, yeah.
Yes.
And then you have also a media training, which I got a tiny bit of media training when I was building forums for women, but I didn't realize how many people are not trained in media, and then how now leaders of companies, they're expected to engage with the media, right? Regardless whether you're a leader or not. I mean, even any person, right, that is now has access to a phone is.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about this training.
Yeah, this training is interesting because of all the trainings I do, this one by far, every executive walks out of this saying, can we do another session, or at least have like another 10 more minutes? And these sessions for executives can be 4 to 6 hours long in a day when we're in person. And when we're sitting down, we do the theory, and then we put them in front of the camera and say, apply what you've learned and see if you can have a better media interview based on what you just learned. And it is a massive chunk, especially out of very busy professionals' days. And they always want more, because it's something that is one of the most unique conversations you will ever have. It is, it looks like a normal conversation, just two people talking, one person asking the questions, the other person giving their answers. But it's not that. It is two people that have an agenda, and they have to get their mission and their message across. But what happens is, unfortunately, the executive or the person being interviewed just lets the reporter dictate the conversation. And as a former reporter myself, that's exactly what we wanted, of course, because we want to get the questions in that we need and get the information. But what I teach in this course is how to command and take control of the interview without it looking like you're taking control. And it's not to be sly or anything, but it is that you have a job to do, and that is to get your message across. And what I see is executives and leaders, they often miss that opportunity and they just allow the questions to be dictated based on what they are asked. And then they don't get that really important point that they wanted to get across. And a lot of times it's information that the reporter never would have asked because they don't know to ask it. You're the expert. You need to bring that forward. And so I teach how to proactively bring your message forward, how to answer question, any question, whether it's contentious, controversial, whether it's a softball, whether it's an easy one, anything in between, of how to answer that well and do it clearly, concisely, with so much color, life, and description, but also how to craft your message. So we talk a lot about what the message actually sounds like coming across. And you can have a great message, but if you don't actually deliver it effectively with pace, with a good volume, with inflection, and not just monotonous tone, and also your presence and great presence that rounds that out, that is what delivers an exceptional media interview. So we talk about all those pillars of communication and how to do that effectively, and also how to not get rattled. It's very easy to get thrown off by a tough question. And I do this and can come from my own experience as a reporter of what they're looking for. But I have been interviewed multiple times as an air show performer in the aviation world, as a pilot, as a professional, as a newscaster. And so I know what it's like to be on the other side of the camera as well, and how difficult and challenging that can be. And so being able to walk the walk and talk the talk, from me as a coach and as a trainer, that lends a lot of credibility. And I love to show my own experiences and those that I've seen from executives I've worked with.
And I can see how this could be beneficial as well for just general presentations that they do internally within their employees or within the whole company, that they have to, deliver a specific message. And I mean, public speaking is such an important part of a leader's roles today. Just this way, and influence and presence and all the things you mentioned. So yeah, definitely think this one's important to have, like you said, for 4 hours or multiple times.
Yeah.
Then I want to talk about breaking through your own glass ceiling. Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites because it's something that I feel that if every person on the planet, which would be great, had the opportunity to take this, they would have the most fulfilling, enjoyable life that they possibly can, because they're living their own brilliance. They're living what they're supposed to be doing. And so what this is I fully believe that over the years, I've developed the skill of being able to see past an individual on the surface, but to see what they really desire and what they really are capable of inside. And so this course, what it does is it takes you through identifying any barriers you have to your own limitations, and then unlocking your limitless potential. But there's a lot of pieces in there that we have to discuss, and a lot of things that you have to get through around getting out of your own way, mindset shifting, learning new ways of seeing things, but also understanding your blind spots and understanding the areas that maybe you're not seeing about yourself that are good or not so good, and how to infuse greatness into the areas that you're doing well, and how to get rid of and slough off areas that you're not doing so well. What the participants will also learn is how to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's the only way you're going to take a risk to be able to do the great things that you're destined to do. And the discomfort is always temporary, but a lot of times we think and build it up to be so big that we never go towards it, and then we never get to actually live our true potential and live who we're supposed to be. Ultimately, what this helps people do is to basically live the desires that are inside of them, that they've not even wanted to share with anyone else, because it's, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, or that's too big of a dream. No, it's not. No dream is too big. If it's inside you, you're actually supposed to be doing it. Now we have to figure out, how do we move towards that and do it in a way that's palpable for an individual, but also you got to push yourself a little bit. Like nothing worth anything, it doesn't have a little bit of risk, or definitely doesn't have a lot of hard work in it. And so helping them push through that and see that it's actually a beautiful thing, because they'll be living their best life.
I'm going to jump to the women empowerment session now, because I think it's very connected. So tell me a little bit more about that, especially for Women's History Month coming up.
Yeah, for the women's empowerment, it's really focused on helping women individually become exactly who they're supposed to be. And a lot of that does deal with mindset, their kind of their inner speak, how they're talking to themselves, how they view themselves, and how they view their potential. When I work with a broad range of executives, but a lot of times what I can see is that it's not all the time, but I will see that more often I will see women question themselves. I will see them wonder if they're qualified to do something and maybe not take that risk. And I help shift them into, you're beyond qualified, you're actually overqualified. Let's get you into that role. Let's have you maybe apply for that promotion, and showing them exactly who they are and helping them really limit some of that negative self-talk that they have. I definitely have seen that women can be harder on themselves than they would be on anyone else. And it's not beneficial for them to be able to completely level up and for them to be most effective. And so giving them those tools, giving them tools around also their blind spots and areas that they need to improve, and helping them also build community, because we can't do it alone. Like no one can, male or female. But there is something very rich and very inspiring and very empowering about having a group of people around you, having your dream team. And it's critical because there are going to be times where you don't know what you're doing. And guess what? Someone's been there before you and knows exactly what to do. And you have to have those smart, successful people who have paved the way. They need to be in your circle. And how do you build that team around you to then build yourself up is what we will also work on, amongst many other things. And in this workshop, what I find different than many of the other ones is that it is an opportunity where there's massive bonding, because women are very social people. And I just find that when women come together, like,
Magic happens.
yeah, magic happens, limitless things happen. And then it's quite amazing to see that they have these relationships that are forged there and they last for a lifetime. And so they do have that dream team even there and beyond. And it's really quite amazing.
Yeah, there's a quote I was reading today that says, "We don't come to wisdom on our own." And it explained a little bit more about this power of us coming together and then being able to, it's sort of like it gets revealed to you what, it deepens you in a way as well. So
Yes, most
I
certainly.
love the intentionality behind this workshop and how you've structured it. And then I also, because we talked about the media training, but then you also do have, wait, my mom's been messaging, and because I'm pregnant, I need to make sure she knows that I'm fine.
That's all good. Doing the right thing.
Calling.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, I'm like, if I don't text her right now.
Hey, a mom will always be making sure you're okay.
I know, but now it gets worse. I have to respond, or else my phone is never going to stop ringing. But no, I wanted to end with, we talked about your media training program, but then you also, and I sort of mentioned how this could be for leaders as well when they're speaking, but you do have one that is about mastering your influence and executive presence. So tell me a little bit more about this one.
Yes. So this one works specifically on the power of your influence, which is the nonverbals, how you come across, and how you make people feel. This is something that a lot of people don't take into account. They don't realize that the power of your unsaid movements and impressions actually speak volumes well beyond your words. And they actually are the things that will either sometimes make or break trust in someone. And if there's any discontinuity in what you're saying and how you come across, people won't trust you, and then your influence is gone. So what we focus on here is I focus on educating participants around what is influence. A lot of it really begins with trust, and how do we build that trust? So I talk about how do you build trust through your presence and through your communication, but also then through how you say things. The other piece of that is really infusing and understanding the power of strength and warmth traits as a leader. They really are the two traits that make you exceptional and dynamic. And the most influential leaders in the world really have these two traits. They have the ability to be warm, welcoming, kind, understanding, but they absolutely can put their foot down, hold people's feet to the fire, and make the tough decisions. And when you have those two together, it's truly limitless as well. And helping people understand how they can bring that out in themselves. What times do they bring that out? When do they pull back on that? When do they infuse a little bit more? And then understanding just your nonverbal communication, your body language, how you show up, even how you look, because as much as people think, oh, it doesn't really matter how we look and all of that, in fact, it speaks louder than any of your words, because sometimes you don't have the opportunity to talk to someone across the room. They only get to see you. So the only thing they can go off of is how you carry yourself, how you're put together or not. And whether we like it or not, people make age-old judgments and assessments around that.
Sure.
So it's giving people the tools to say, how do you want to be perceived? How are you currently being perceived? And how do you want to, and how do we elevate that? Not making anyone stuffy or making someone they're not. It is, how do you want to be seen? Some people really, when it comes to clothes and when it comes to accessories and how they want to come across just externally there, they want a suit and tie because that's how they come across. Others say, you know what, that's a little tight, a little stuffy for me. So let's still do a blazer, but let's do like a cool graphic t-shirt with it and jeans with some nice shoes. And that's exactly what can be done. But that's a small piece of it, the appearance. Overall, we talk about the overall presence of even facial expressions, the warmth and strength that you provide and bring in, and how you make people feel. Because although business is all about transactions, guess what? It's a personal interaction between two people, always. And so, so building that connection and understanding how you make people feel in a good, bad, or otherwise way will give you awareness to be able to do it the most effective way to ultimately influence.
Such a powerful session. And I really think, especially nowadays where you don't really, networking can look so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, I mean, sometimes you just have that one time. And so if you don't, I had a call the other day with someone that was just getting into sales. And I had a lot of sales training for many years for my previous jobs. And just the way that the conversation was carried, like I wanted to be, I know the person. And so I was like, okay, first, that was a wrong approach. You should never start with that, right? It felt like very it just was not, if he would have tried connecting with me even a little bit more, or trying to, there's, that can make it or break it. And that can mean you get a client for life, or that can mean you got that one meeting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's unbelievable how powerful that can be, and the power of actually listening and not just responding right away, but actually listen to their and observe the other person's body language, how they're coming across, and maybe listening to their words versus just getting ready to say what you want to say. It's very powerful in creating connection with people. And so we talk about all of that, and it's really amazing. I truly feel that went through all these workshops, I've never had anyone walk away and say that was worthless. I didn't get anything from that. I feel very, very, very lucky that I understand and I've refined them to make sure that they are very practical. They're very applicable right away, and that they are malleable as well, depending on the day and the session, to adjust a little bit based on what the needs are, but ultimately stay on track with what people need to learn. And I love doing it. It feels like my life's work.
I can feel it. And like I said, we're super grateful to have you as part of our board. And I can already think of clients that could benefit from these types of workshops. And I really feel that this is, the direction of content that a lot of people are craving for and needing, and not everyone has access to. And so, why not have these conversations that also just build onto everything else, right? So Thank you, thank you. And yeah, like I said, super grateful to have you. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to mention before we close off today.
No, I know that they will wonderfully work through you and your amazing team, and I will just be honored to work with the great companies and organizations that you work with, and be honored to serve their people to elevate them to the next level.
Thank you, Stephanie. It
Of
was
course.
so good to see you.
All right, great to see you too.